Hello everyone, my name is Ronda Gowland-Pryde and I'm the Civic University Lead and Senior Public Engagement Fellow for the University of Southampton. I'm delighted to be here to talk about co-production based on my current practice and also experience over 20 years. This is an image of me. I did my first degree at Southampton University in art history. I started working at John Hansard Gallery in 2000 and throughout that time completed a master's in arts management, moving on to a PGCE in post-compulsory education with the University of Southampton, and also finally a PhD with the Southampton Education School. The notion of co-production in arts and cultural sector is not a new one, and I think that's a really important frame, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about that as the slides go through. But before doing so, this is fundamentally one of the key aspects of what a civic university is, and it is based on the principle of universities as anchor organisations. A civic university really takes due consideration around its development and it having a place-based strategy in terms of how it connects to the local communities and area in which it resides in. A civic university really examines how it interacts and works with local communities, and not just what it's good at, but what it's good for. And in doing so, it explores what it can do in its local communities and working with them directly, and fundamentally how it can be a positive force for change. As I say, my own experiences within the arts and cultural sector, and one of the key concepts that regularly comes up more recently, I think, is the notion of pracademics. And what does that mean? What does that look like? A pracademic is fundamentally someone who's both an academic and active practitioner in their field. And this is really helpful in terms of moving from participation, working with communities, but also co-production. They also serve as gateway or connectors to communities and organisations. They have a frontline, deep-rooted understanding of need. And Pracademia isn't necessarily exclusive to those already situated in higher education. It can also be those that work directly, even more so, and embedded within community organisations and other sectors. An example of this that I wanted to use was in residence, working with a community development worker from Southampton Voluntary Services over the last year has been really crucial in terms of having those connections, but also those broader, wider links from the community. And we are now entering into a second year of that through the Green Social Prescribing project. Another aspect of our work with Southampton Voluntary Services is also through the Community Participatory Action Research, CPA. And one of those key elements of that is the role of peer researchers in communities, and I'll talk a little bit more about that shortly. One of the fundamental key areas, I think, and really useful tools for thinking about how we get from a point of partnership working to co-production is Arnstein's ladder of participation. This is essentially a very helpful tool and model as to how we can think about moving from tokenism to citizen control and, moreover, collaboration. I think this is a very helpful model in thinking about how we also work much more collectively on a level playing field with communities and other organisations. So what facilitates co-production? From experience, places and spaces, both physical and social, are really crucial. So where we make those points of contact, and also where we also build those relationships and development of trust. Usually, from experience, this has been directly in communities, whether that being community centres or other organisations that do that, but also thinking about how we can bridge those gaps, both physical and social as well. And that's a really, really important aspect. The development of people and relationships. So again, the building of trust is really key here, as are the right people that come together to be able to make that research, that programme, even more collaborative and effective. And again, this is why I refer to Pracademia and also those that research within communities, as this facilitates a much better, more inclusive way of working. Time is never on our side, but however, working and thinking about the longer term is really crucial, and also thinking about the time it takes to build those relationships in order to be most effective, and the sustainability and legacy of those partnerships as well. And thinking about resources, not just financially, but also how we work with communities and our partners. What can we share? What resources do we have collectively that would be able to best support the research, our research? And thinking about that as an asset-based approach. A number of arts organisations, for example, use an asset-based approach in their work in order to co-produce work with communities. And I think that that is a really key aspect of how we think about resourcing. And also, finally, the ability to be reflexive and reflective. Along the way, things will change, and we need to understand and be open to those changes in order to make those collaborations and partnerships even more effective, and also to the level of co-production. And again, spending time to reflect on things is again very, very important. Thinking about how we can build that into those partnerships and in a way to make those more reflective over time. From experience, all of these areas are fundamental to how we get from purely partnerships and participation to the level of co-production. And as I say, these things take time and they need due consideration. And finally, I think those key areas that I've just outlined previously are really, really fundamental. And one of the underpinning principles of a civic university are place, understanding local context and need; public, working with, by and for local community groups and organisations; and partnerships. So thinking about the local infrastructure and where partnerships can be enhanced and further developed. I think these are really great principles. And again, I think that they very much align with some of the key kind of points I wanted to raise in terms of how we get from participation to co-production. So that was my final slide. It was a pleasure to talk to you about some of this. If you have any further points, just contact me at civicuni@southampton.ac.uk. And finally, as we head towards in residence year 2 with Southampton Voluntary Services, we are also looking to recruit a researcher in residence. If this is something for our Green Social Prescribing project, if this is something that you would like to gain further information about, please do not hesitate to contact me at this email address. I wish you all a very successful and productive day, and thank you for listening.